Hey, good morning, Facebook. It's Gerry coming to you from Rythmia Life Advancement Center in Guanacaste, Costa Rica. And it's a beautiful day. The rains have started again, but it's a beautiful day. Glad to be alive, glad to be a part of this community. I want to say hi to you and talk to you a little bit about Rythmia as we start. Do me a favor if you can and press share if you think anybody would need to hear this today. There's some inspiration in it. And I think it'd be great if you could help us share it. I appreciate that a lot. So before I get into my coronavirus update number 8, I will talk a little bit about Rythmia. Rythmia is a life advancement center unlike any in the world. We use sacred plant medicine, metaphysical teachings, yoga, meditation, breath work, amazing food in an amazing setting where you're forced to look at yourself for the whole week, and the result of this is a changed life forever. How do I know that? Well, 95.16, that's 951.6 out of every 1,000 people who come through here electronically report that they had a life-changing miracle during their stay. 97.55% of them 6 months later say that this is still working in their lives. It's yours forever. So just know, and I'm going to tell you what, Costa Rica is going to be late on the opening up post-coronavirus train, but as soon as we're opened, I want to see you here. I want to see you experience the joy that is this place. As a result of our hard work, we have become TripAdvisor's #1 customer-rated resort in the world. That includes the Waldorf Astorias and all that baloney. Nothing like it. Hi guys. Hi everybody this morning. Hi Jen. Hi Justin. Hi Martha. Hi Sean. I'm so glad you guys could join us today. We're going to talk about a couple different things. First, my update on the coronavirus. #1, like I continue to say, it will be over before you know it. I started saying that in update #1. And already in some parts of the U.S., it's for all intents and purposes, it's over. This will continue to go. What is the truth about coronavirus? Well, here's my math on it. A 17% infection rate, a 0.2% mortality rate, that's 2 out of 1,000. And that, I'm going to tell you, by the time the vaccine comes out, herd immunity will already be in place, and a big percentage of the population is not going to take the vaccine. That's just my thing. So, in our preparation to get back to the world, let's talk about this. In our preparation to get back to the world, I want to make a prediction. The people who complained about lockdown the first and the loudest will also be the first ones complaining about going back to work. I'm going to tell you, okay? And that should be a key into something else. Are things going to return to normal? Yes, more than you could ever imagine. So what do I mean by that? Well, in the 2 days post 9/11, I was in the brand new start of a business, and I looked at my CFO, and we both concluded that nobody would ever fly again. And 6 months later, people were flying just as much as they were before, except the only thing that's changed, that stayed, is going a little slower through security at the airport. And I have to tell you what's crazy about that. 6 months later, most of the people were saying this, and I hate saying it. They said they'd rather be subject to terrorism than go through the airport that slow. So trust me, things return back to normal. That's why it's so important that we don't. So how can we affect change? The only way we can is through ourselves. We have to be the change. We have to be the 20% that are going to look at life differently as a result of coronavirus. And let's talk a little bit about that, right? Last week I said something, and I always can tell what I'm going to talk about the next week, because if I get emails or DMs about what I said, it gives me a topic for the next week. And last week I talked about trusting or distrusting your intuition. And that caused a lot of people to have comments or questions about it. And I really want to talk about it. So In this period of self-reflection, in the coronavirus journey, in the coronavirus ceremony, it gives us an opportunity to look at all aspects of our life. One of the first things I would like you to do is check your intuition and look at its track record. It is a hard thing. I want you to hear what I said. Check your intuition and look at its track record. So now we got to be really careful, and we should really write it down. Everything I'm telling you to do or asking of you to participate with me in requires you to sit down, to be alone with your thoughts, and to write things down. So check your intuition. And what do I mean by that? If my intuition has led me to unsuccessful relationships, and I want to talk about what that is, that doesn't mean a short-term or mid-term relationship. That means because all of us are different. Some of us are like doves that are coupled for life. Some of us aren't. But you can tell the experience by the relationship that's left with your partner. So if you had a relationship that lasted a few years, your partner and I decided to split, and a conscious uncoupling, and it was growth oriented for the both of you, that's a successful relationship. If you're married 25 years and you hate each other, that's not a successful relationship. So we got to sit down and look at the success of our relationships, and then write what part of us drew us into that relationship. So what do I mean by that? If I'm with Tom, and I'm only with Tom because it was a safe bet, and it ended in disaster, then the intuition that led you there, your intuition of it being a safe bet, is faulty. And probably the wrong place to intuit anything from. A fear-based intuition. That's a decision out of fear. Most of us can't tell the difference. Let me give you another example. I'm a guy and I decide, I'll flip this because it's easier from the other standpoint. I'm a woman and there's a man who's super handsome, super successful, sleeping with everyone. And I go for drinks with him and he asks me to sleep with him. And I do, and then the next morning he's gone and won't even pay attention to me the next day. And then I ask, where did that come from? And you say you were following your heart. You weren't. I think you need an anatomy lesson. I don't have to go into more detail than that, but you can really decipher where these decisions have come from. If you're in a job and you're tracking your intuition and saying, can I trust my intuition? And you just write from the first things you decided from intuition in your life, like first job, second job, third job, fifth job, new career, moving to Texas, You write all these things down and you write where that came from. You can actually go and look and see if your intuition was right. So, a lot of you, when you write it down, you're going to say, I knew fucking better, but I did this anyway. Or I knew that I loved to be a painter, but I worked in the bank just because it was my work. So now, you got to stay with me on this. There's gold right here. So when we write down what it was, write the result down, and then write where it came from. And this is an academic exercise, and we look at the whole thing, we can actually get done and then look at the ones that worked and then feel the feeling tone, the resonance of where those decisions came from. And I'm going to tell you something. They're generally not from one place. They usually originate from a place and then they're approved by another part of intuition from us. Do you see what I'm saying? So, and you can get to this. And then it requires control to be able to do this and learn this practice and use it in your life going forward. I'm going to tell you why. Because once you figure out how to trust your intuition and how to use your intuition, you don't need a thing. You don't need an Ian Landers. That's too old for most of you guys. You don't need a guru. You don't need a seer of the future or an energy reader. You just need you. You're your own compass. Now that happens most when you're here. That happens most when you're here. As a matter of fact, when you're here, you don't even tend to have to go through the practice, because when you're merged, that practice happens automatically. Automatically. You may need to check yourself here and there. You may need to check yourself and watch how you're doing it, but it will be fine. Now I'm going to let you into a little clue. I'm going to talk to you about a little clue in this, right? I've never met someone, and I want you to ask yourselves the same. I've never met someone. Forget coronavirus time. I won't take corona, but I've never met someone who was in love with what they do, who couldn't make rent. I never once in my life, not once, have I met someone that said to me, Gerry, you know, I love what I'm doing so much, and I just can't make rent at it. I never met someone who was doing it and said that. I met a lot of people that were working at the bank and would say, you know what? I know that I should be doing something else, but I cannot make ends meet at it. See the difference? Someone's working in the bank in conflict with their intuition, in conflict with their love, saying that they should be doing something else. They should be, but they know they couldn't make ends meet at it. Then if you talk to anybody who made the shift from the bank to the thing that they knew that they loved, and by the way, some of us love banking, but from the bank, if we didn't want to be there, to the thing that we loved, it's hard in the beginning, but nobody is turned away. If you're in love with what you're doing, you get good at it. And I don't care what you do. If you get good at something, you're going to make ends meet about it. You are. So follow that. I've never met someone who loved what they were doing, truly loved what they were doing, and couldn't make ends meet at it. Never. So keep that into yourself. And when you're doing testing, really, when you're doing testing, you got to be honest. You got to be honest. So if I'm at the bank, but I want to be somewhere else, look at the decision that drove you to the bank, and I guarantee you with everything in me that's good and holy, that was a fear-based decision. It was. Guarantee you. At least that's my guarantee to you, okay? And if you do it and continually do it, then you see the ones that worked and note what was unique to the characteristics of the one that worked. Get the feeling tone of your decision to become a healer. Get the feeling tone of it. And once you get that vibrational feeling, this is the key to this stuff, to sit there and replicate that feeling tone. This is why you can't do it when you're playing a game, or you can't do it when you're worried about getting to work, but in coronavirus time, you can absolutely do it. Get alone in a room and get the feeling tone of the decision that worked out perfectly in your life. And I guarantee you this, if you can replicate that, the same result will happen in every single thing that you touch. The same result will happen in every single thing that you touch. And I want to talk about that. Knowing ourselves, which is all this is, lets us triangulate on the things that are right for us. Lets us triangulate on the things that are right for us. The decisions out of love, and this is what not out of lust, not out of, I would look really good dating this person, or not out of, yeah, my neighbors would be really envious if I took that high-paying job. Nope. But decisions out of true love are always right. When you're going to make a decision out of true love, even if it looks scary, the other parts of you, your mind, will support that decision because the love is so strong. Now, if you're going to when you find yourself having to force yourself into decisions, they're usually fear-based. Or ego-based, or something else. And please stick with me on this. When you're making your list, talk about the truth of what made you do it. I took that job at the bank for my ego. I did this. I bought that car and got that car payment so I looked good in front of the neighbors. I did this, I did that. I dated Bob because everybody thought he was so great. I did all of these things, but how many have I done from here? How many have I done? So here's another thing I want to talk about. When we're following our heart, you have to absolutely give it enough time to work. Heart decisions, and when I talk about the heart, gets so confusing, but if you're unmerged, sometimes you can't discern the heart. And then you make decisions from another place, which is a near miss from the heart, but it more lines up with something primal. I know that's confusing, and I know that's why, please press share on this thing if you didn't press share on this for me yet. When I talk about that, it's only confusing until you've been there. That's why coming to a place like this and getting merged is so incredibly important. Because once you're here, it has a whole different meaning. But if you think you've done it from your heart and you saw it fail miserably, there's only two things it could be. Number one, you didn't give it enough time, or number two, it wasn't from the heart. It was from something close to the heart, but usually goes way more primal than the heart. See, the heart has no beginning and no end. And these fear-based reactions that can feel like they're coming from the heart, like an urge to have an orgasm with someone, that can feel heart-centered. And by the way, when it is, it feels much different. Or that I gotta take this food from the plate and push it to myself. That can sometimes, I love cake, but it could be coming from a much different place. So we got to get to that. So what's the lesson here? That when you pick right, all of a sudden it's a timeless decision. When you pick right, all of a sudden it's a timeless decision. What does that mean? So if I pick wrong, what goes in my brain is, how long do I have to do this shit before I can quit? How long do I have to keep this fucking job with this fucking asshole before I can give up? If I save $20,000 a year, then in 15 years I can quit. This is the mentality. As opposed to, I am now from this moment on doing what I love and I feel timeless. Because in this thing of doing what we love, we would pay someone to allow us to do it. We would pay someone to allow us to do it. Because we love it from a place of pure love. Okay, so here's the thing. Once you find that thing of love, I can promise you two things, okay? It's going to take longer than you ever imagined, and I'll get into why that is. And it's going to be bigger than you ever thought. Much bigger than you ever thought. Why is it going to take longer than you ever imagined? Because mastery takes time. And there is no energetic equivalent. In other words, the energy of money or the energy of success cannot come without mastery. It can't. It cannot. It doesn't work that way. You get good at relationships. You get good at business. You get good at healing. You get good at painting. You get good at photography. All this thing that has an energetic equivalent of success comes through mastery. So that's why it takes long. Here's the other part of it. It takes longer than you thought, and it's going to be bigger than you thought. Because the universe rewards mastery and not a one-to-one relationship. Michael Jordan didn't get paid the same as the other basketball players. Tiger Woods didn't make the same amount of money as the other golfers. A Van Gogh sells for a very different price than does my painting. The universe rewards mastery in a huge way. Love beyond love. Relationships beyond relationship. It's a beautiful place of bliss. And it starts the day you start doing it. So here's the thing. This mastery takes a long time, but it requires me to start doing it today. Today. This is the thing. And once I'm doing the thing that I love, and I'm doing the things every day that make it occur, all of a sudden, I'm stepped out of time. I'm out of time. Like right now, I'm so excited to get people in here and to help them in their process. I'm like a kid waiting for Christmas. I swear to God. I feel bad for the person that walks through, the first person. I'm going to hug them to death. I'm going to have to put myself in a plastic bag or something, but I'm going to hug them to death. I'm going to be one big prophylactic so I can hug the shit out of them because I'm dying to do it. I'm dying to see them. I used to watch them walk in here with a look of scared on their face. They would walk into this place like this, and they would leave walking on sunshine. I am doing what I love to do, and I pray to God that you've taken this time so that you too can be doing what you love to do. Once you're doing what you love to do, every single thing else falls into place. Every single other thing falls into place. So keep this going. I love you guys. Hi, Misha. Hi, Ashley. Hi, Janice. Hi, Pat. Hi, Martha. Hi, Mindy. Hey, Meg. Okay. A couple other things before we close today. So I just want to tell you this. Today, this is what all coronavirus ceremony, coronavirus journey is all about, taking stock. It's all about us accepting responsibility in ourselves so that we can be the 80-20 we can be the 20 of the 80-20 rule, and our 20 shifts the universe. See, you don't need everybody. This is not, do not fucking sit there and commit to changing yourself. And when I say changing yourself, falling into your absolute fullness because the guy next to you is not. Because it only takes 2 out of 10 of us to change the whole show. This is our team. This is the team that's going to do it. You have to commit to it being your thing and forget about what everybody else is doing. Forget about it. Forget about it. Just let us do it. Okay? A couple other things I just get worried about. Not worried about, but because worry is a bad thing, but I take notice of. I see a lot of things from people investing money, and I have to tell you something. This is the time when wealth shifts back. You see, you think coronavirus is going to redistribute wealth, and it's not. As a matter of fact, it's going to shift more of the wealth to wealthy people. Why? Because most of the selling that occurs in the equity markets now are fear-based. And the people who sell when there's blood in the water are the people who lose, and the people who buy when there's blood in the water are the people who win. So really, in these 4 words are the death knell to any saving of your life savings or your 401ks or whatever. This time it's different. Please do not believe that. What coronavirus is going to look like a year, 2 years, and 3 years from now is probably a new line at the airport. Maybe. That's about as wild as it's going to get. Things are going to go back to normal. Carnival Cruise Lines opened up for August, and they had a 600% spike in reservations in the history of the company. So be very, very careful. Stocks that I like. 1 minute on this. I like Boeing. I like oil futures. I like JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, and Bank of America. And what I'm going to tell you is this. A year from now to 2 years from now, people are going to be flying again. Maybe a month from now. Cruising again. Buying cars again. Going on dates again. Eating in restaurants again. All of this human experience comes back. What is the difference pre-corona and post-corona? You and me. More specifically, me. What I mean by that is this. If you say it in the eye, you are the only difference in the world pre and post-corona, you're going to be right. Absolutely right. So here's my prescription for the rest of the week. Number one, it's going to be over before you know it. So therefore, please take pleasure in the last little bit of this. Take pleasure and take stock of your life. Take stock of your decisions. Become serious about living life in a much more full and rewarding way. About living life from a place of love. I love you guys. I can't wait to see you again at Rythmia. Hey, Robert Parsons. I went to school with him. I can't wait to see you again at Rythmia. And I'm going to tell you, when we are done this, when we're finished with coronavirus, please let's do things in a new way. Please let's love our neighbor in the new way. Let's love ourselves in a new way. Let's love our kids in a new way and our parents in a new way, our community in a new way. Let's take a new responsibility for life. It's not what life can do for me, it's what I can do for life. And we will all get through this, and it will be a changed world as a result. I love you guys. God bless you. God keep you. God hold you. And I will see you next week. Cheers.